appears the U.S. is stepping up its warnings on Russia in Syria's Idlib province. It's an area that has recently seen escalating violence. And according to a U.S. envoy, there have been increasing numbers of incidents of Russian contractors pushing deep into U.S.-backed partner territory in northeastern Syria. But it wasn't too long ago when President Trump announced he was pulling American troops from the border between Syria and Turkey. And he has long campaigned on bringing the troops back. Yet this past Tuesday, during his State of the Union speech, the president made a commitment to invest even more in the country with military. So what gives? For more on this developing story, let's turn to RT's Donald Corder, live for us in Moscow. Donald?
Well, Trump had a lot to say in his State of the Union address, no doubt. He talked about topics like the economy, his support for the Venezuelan opposition, but one topic definitely stood at the forefront, and that was the enormous amount of money he's been spending on the military.
To safeguard American liberty, we have invested a record-breaking $2.2 trillion in the United States military. Purchased the finest planes, missiles, rockets, ships, and every other form of military equipment, and it's all made right here in the USA.
Now, boosting the military budget might have seemed like a strange move on Trump's part when back in October he ordered the full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria. But the situation in the country's northeast is actually becoming even more tense as U.S. troops and Russian military contractors are more frequently getting into standoffs that could potentially turn violent. Now, this budget increase also doesn't seem like something that should be bragged about to American taxpayers. Trump didn't talk about how he's getting this money for this record-breaking budget, but a recent report from the Costs of War Project might give us a little insight into how he is. It says that all of Washington's wars after 9/11 have been mostly funded through debt, not through taxes, not through war bonds, and that means big interest rates.
If war spending ceased immediately, interest payments on the $2 trillion of existing war debt would rise to over $2 trillion by 2030 and to $6.5 trillion by 2050. These interest payments will grow larger as the U.S. continues its post-9/11 military interventions and continues amassing debt to pay for the costs of war.
Now, who's going to pay for that is anyone's guess, but the Iraq War alone costed every single American taxpayer $8,000, so it should really come as no surprise if the burden continues to fall on them. And with little indication of Washington's longest war ever in Afghanistan coming to a close, it's hard to see any way out of this never-ending debt trap.